Jewish sense of exceptionalism has changed greatly over the centuries. A lot of Jews today are uncomfortable about the chosenness idea. I would include myself in that group. But the Jewish sense of exceptionality, whether historical or as whether it's a history of thinking about morality and of intellect, some sense of exceptionality, just as a historical matter, remains very strong across many different sectors of Jews, including the non-religious ones.
Do you think that it comes at all from the idea of having been persecuted so many times and yet survived? I mean, that, you know.
Yes, and you can see this in Mormons as well. It's an interesting comparison. Mormons, every Mormon child learns that their group was placed under an extermination order by a governor of a state in the late 19th century, and they compare themselves to the Jews. Of course, they call themselves a new chosen people, but they have the same sense. They've been persecuted, they survived, and you find that kind of story not just in Jews and Mormons, but in many other groups too.
We learned so many fascinating things studying the Mormons in depth. And they really do pattern the story on the Jewish story. You know, they have their Moses, they have their Exodus, they have the extermination order. It's really striking. Now, the other groups, the Chinese superiority complex is just as complicated. Everybody knows probably that there's this concept of China as the Middle Kingdom. And there was just a piece on it sort of talking about the implications of our thesis for China, the country, because it's really, it does have both, we'll get to that, insecurity and superiority, but the Middle Kingdom, the center of civilization, everybody else was barbarians. Now, when you come to the United States, I don't think that a lot of Chinese people here in America really feel that way, that I'm, you know, from the center of the civilization. I mean, the immigrant experience is so different. But there is a sense of, certainly I grew up with, we come from the most ancient civilization. And that can be almost like an armor. When I was little, I was only Asian kid in a school, and I remember this guy was running around making fun of me, Chinese eyes, and I came home and was upset and told my mother, and she said, "Why would you care about that person? You know, why are you," you know, she was just irritated. She says, "We come from, this is such an ignorant person," you know, and there's this ethnocentrism in that too. But as a young girl, it was like a shield, you know, it was a sense of ethnic pride that always stood with me.